Hello. Hello. Mohana ma'am. Hello, Mohana ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Yeah, ma'am. Can we start, ma'am?
Hello, Mr. Sendel?
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, this is Sweta, Dean Architecture.
Yeah,
Thank you
good
very much
morning.
for accepting the invite, sir.
Yeah, very good morning. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Sir, shall we proceed? Shall we start?
Yeah, sure, ma'am. Mona Priya, are you there? Hello.
Now I will unmute.
Sure, ma'am. Sure, ma'am. Mona Priya, ma'am. Hello. Hello.
Ma'am, I think for some reason it is logged out and it shows Wasim as a host now, ma'am.
Sir, can you hear me?
Yeah, Monopia, ma'am.
Can we start, sir?
Yeah, ma'am. Sure, ma'am. We are waiting for you only.
Yeah, okay, sir. So, good morning, everyone. A warm welcome on behalf of Faculty of Architecture, Dr.MGR Educational and Research Institute, Madurai, Chennai. Myself, Architect Mohanpriya, Assistant Professor of Faculty of Architecture, takes privilege in welcoming you all for our webinar series, Session 1, on topic Eco-Design for Cities and Suburbs. Here we have with us our speaker for today's session, Architect Senthil Mani, who is an architect, academician, and a research scholar. He had graduated his bachelor's from University of Madras and his master's from Hindustan University. He is a founder and director of his established firm named Sen Designs. Currently, he is practicing architect in Chennai and working as a professor in Marg Institute of Design and Architecture, Swarnabhumi. His interest towards urban design made him to pursue PhD from Anna University. Urban design being his core interest, he had published many research papers in this concern. Today he is here with us to take about eco-design for cities and suburbs, using real examples and case studies to learn how ecology can guide urban design to avoid environmental disasters and improve people's lives. We welcome you, sir. I request you to take forward the session.
Thank you, Monopia, ma'am. Good morning, all. Welcome to my webinar sessions. Thank you for taking time and being here. It is a pleasure speaking with you all. I thank to Dr.MGR Educational Research Institute for giving me this opportunity. So today our session starts with Intro to Eco-Design and covering 3 international case studies for eco-design concepts and Chennai's urban growth model. Finally, briefing you the role of eco-design in cities and suburbs. I hope everyone can see this screens, right? The most common problem in urban centers is a lack of livable spaces. These spaces are largely affected by urbanization, globalization, and industrialization. As you all knew, urbanization, it is people migrating from a rural to urban India in a large number for the employment. This creates a demand in housing and infrastructure. That way, it fails existing urban growth model. And about globalization, it almost destroys our own identity. Applying other countries' successful model to ours without concerning our emotions and cultures, it fails again. Talking about industrialization, though it gives employment opportunities, the most of the agricultural lands are grabbed for industrial developments. Even they encroach reserve forests and swampland for industries. So now, eco-design, it is the only solution which will balance the built and natural environment and protect ourselves from urbanization, globalization, and industrialization. The city concepts discussed over the past 20 years were future cities and smart cities. We all knew that the future cities and smart cities are all about technology based, not about any emotions or cultures. But what actually needed is livable cities. Livable cities are eco-friendly designed cities. What is an eco-design then? It is an approach to design with a special consideration for the environmental impacts. It is about integrating planning, urban design, and conservation of natural systems to produce sustainable built and natural environments. Applying these principles in urban planning and designing transforms urban development into a desirable, lower carbon and walkable communities. We should know the basic differences of urban planning and urban design. Urban planning is about the policy making. Urban designers executing the policies. The factors which influences the eco designs are the natural resources, green spaces, and quality of life. Natural resources, achieving sustainable developments through natural resources and protecting green spaces and make them interactive with man-made environments. And about quality of life, it is an expectation of an individual society for a livable environment. The factors which pulls down the eco designs are growing population, rising sea level, and climate change. Growing population demands more space to live in and requires large infrastructures and employment opportunities. Urban heat island and CO2 emissions from industries are the major concerns for rising sea level and climate change. This will impact the natural resources. So now, as said earlier, we are going to discuss about 3 international case studies, which I like. So the first one is Vancouver, Canada. An intro about Vancouver. It is a seaport in British Columbia. It is Canada's densest and most ethnically diverse cities, surrounded by mountains. This Google image shows the landscape pattern of Vancouver, which is crisscrossed by many rivers. This required large investments in infrastructure, since the inner city sits on a large peninsula. In the early 1990s, they come up with an idea called Vancouverism, a new investment idea turned into an action. The whole inner city quickly transformed. The concept of Vancouverism combines respect for nature and urban street life. You can see here the large residential populations in a mixed-use development, typically with a medium height and commercial base and a narrow high-rise residential tower. Replacing rail yards and warehouses with new development spaces, this transformation is an example of eco-design in action. This neighborhood views shows slim residential towers which housed on podiums. The park and housing sites were reclaimed from redundant rail yards. This new neighborhood is typical of what has become known as Vancouverism, urban densities, but also great amenities. Tall towers are constructed to be thin and well separated. Managing massing and spacing of towers is a key requirement for making high density more comfortable. In this image, you can see the base tower integrated with the podium that will cut the impact of tower scales on a pedestrians. And here you see the landscape courtyards within a group of apartment towers offers a privacy and a safe space for children. In residential blocks, courtyards are on raised level above parking and street front shops. Residents using rooftop leftover spaces as roof gardens. The places are with parks, benches, pedestrian and protected bikeways. Even the jobs, recreation and day-to-day activities are all close together. In this image, you can see the neighborhood party organized by residents. They are living comfortably in a dense, high-rise, mixed-use, walkable community. And this image shows the protected walkways and bikeways. In inner city, all different type of households sits with the context of connected paths with priority for walking and cycling. Model choice is priority for any sustainable city. As you see here, Vancouver is increasingly balancing the availability of car with walking, cycling and transit. Over 60% of the trips made by non-motorized modes. Mostly people walking, but also bicycling and even using skating. Most of the other trips are on transits, including local bus systems and rapid transits for the longer trips. Electrical vehicles produce fewer emissions that contribute to the climate change than conventional vehicles. A cutting-edge new standards for the advanced systems for managing energies were provided in these cities. In Vancouver's growth model, there is a big emphasis on amenities, attractive architecture, and landscapes. Walking, cycling, and skating have become natural way to move around and bringing exercise to everyday activity. A double row of trees along the sideway offers visual barrier to the adjacent tall building and creates a sense of protection from cars on street. This photo shows a normal Vancouver sidewalk that results from the planting requirement. These streets work perfectly in a residential setting, calming traffic and offering valuable parking and giving all access that is needed. And about shorelines, it has been constructed to regenerate marine life and often recreation and discovery. Local landscapes supports the urban life. Fronting buildings along the walkways, bikeways offers a strong direct relationship between living and public use, as well unforgettable image for the Vancouver's. And this image shows that the primary agricultural land is protected throughout the region. Though there is huge demand of land parcels, the development bylaws make use of agricultural lands protected. The city government has taken up the leadership role and facilitate a widely supported vision. And the whole pace is comprehensively planned. Hundreds of thousands of people were involved in designing the overall plans of Vancouver's inner city. Now, Vancouver, despite its many success, still falls short what we need for comprehensive eco-design. Though partial successes, Vancouver has made a commendable start. Let's move on to the next case study, Helsinki, Finland. So in Vancouver, we have seen the urban growth model as Vancouverism, and now it is Helsinki, Finland. Helsinki is the capital of Finland, one of the fastest growing cities in Europe. The city's 2050 plan is to accommodate the future growth without urbanizing any more urban lands. Instead, the growth will infill underused areas around the multiple new centers of development, which is supported by an extensive transit network system. Helsinki pursued a policy of decentralization into surrounding communities with the development of apartment buildings in the suburbs. So in Helsinki, the concept is decentralization. And here you see the historic center built around the original harbor with the Lutheran Cathedral, one of city's most prominent landmarks in the center of the photo. Helsinki is mainly a low-rise city with a development dominated by blocks of apartments that grew up along the streetcar lines. And this image shows the internationally famous Tapiola Garden City in the suburbs. Tapiola was largely constructed in 1950s and 1960s by Finnish Housing Foundation and was designed as a garden city. The various parts of Tapiola was connected by extensive park zones. Like many European cities, Helsinki pursued a policy of decentralization. With the development of apartment building in the forest, like community Philojamäki, which dates from mid-1960s, it is reached by a bus from the highway system. Helsinki built an extensive highway system with the 2 ring roads and many radials, which facilitates this decentralization easily. In 2008, the city moved the loading and unloading container ship outboard docks to a new location. This almost freed 250 hectares of prime waterfront land. This image shows 250 hectares of prime waterland for redevelopment. And this image shows the mixed-use Ruoholahti district in Helsinki, Finland. Apartment buildings facing the inlet and promenade in the foreground. And you can see a high-tech research center in the background with a shopping and offices nearby. An Helsinki growth model accommodates new population within the existing urbanized area by identifying the unused land within the city. So that is all about Helsinki. Helsinki deals with decentralization concept. Now we move on to the third case study, Portland in United States. Portland follows the inner city revitalization strategy in their urban growth model. Portland's core city is now competitive with its suburbs. It is more and more sustainable, becoming part of story, what is popularly called Portlandia. The inner city of Portland, Oregon, is an example of eco-design, thoughtfully applied to achieve urban revitalization. The Portland streetcars shown here offer balances to transportation system so that people do not need to use cars. From 1986 onwards, Metropolitan Area Express, called MAX, was expanded to become a 4-lane grid of light rail transit connecting downtown to suburban centers. The tax money of people were poured into a balanced transportation systems. The Portland streetcar, the downtown distributors of a region's light rail system. Actually, light rail system, it is a form of urban rail public transportation that generates a lower capacity and lower speed than a heavy rail and metro systems. Portland has most elegant and pervasive streetscaping, focusing on landscaping and artscaping and creating a comfortable zones. Along with transit cycling routes were created. Some minor streets were chosen to close the traffic. Pedestrian pathways have been added with the new developments. All public parks have been upgraded with landscapes, public arts, fountains, water-play features, and furnishings. In this way, they draw many people to public spaces. Street tree planting has been a priority for many years in Portland and resulted is a shaded, attractive perspectives of tree along every walking streets. And this kind of human public environment would be welcome in any cities. To enhance the public realm, heritage buildings have been restored throughout the inner city, dramatically enhance the overall ambience and hospitality of the streetscapes. In 1970, Harbor Drive was demolished and replaced with Waterfront Park, extending along the river shoreline, creating an attractive amenity for downtown workers and nearby residents. Portland suburbs continued to sprawl, challenging the growth boundary. So far we have seen the 3 case studies. From these case studies, the major issues we have learned is, number 1 is adapting to climate change, limiting the global warming, and balancing cars and other transportations, making cities and suburbs more livable and environmentally compatible, designing and managing the public realm. So among these 3 case studies, the first one is Vancouver. We have seen Vancouverism concept. And in second one, Helsinki, Finland, decentralization concept. And third one, Portland, it's a revitalization concepts. So now, move on to our urban model, Chennai. So as we all knew about Chennai, a little short brief on Chennai. Chennai, the 4th largest metropolis in India. It has an earlier area of 1184 square kilometers, and now it has been extended to 8,878 square kilometers. Urban spaces within the Chennai is in the form of rivers, wetlands, and forests. These are the backbones of eco-friendly, sustainable environment. These are the highly ecologically sensitive zone. Decaying of these zones will largely affect the ecosystems. Understanding the dynamics of these improves the ecosystems. The ecosystems of Chennai has 3 rivers, 5 wetlands, and 6 forests, along with the public green spaces in the forms of parks, playgrounds, traffic islands, and open space reservation areas. So understanding the Chennai ecosystem. So as I said, it's comprised of 3 rivers. One is Kosasthalaya River, and another one is Kuvam and Adayar. And there is a Buckingham Canal, though man-made, plays an equally important role in watermap of Chennai. Among other wetlands, Pallikarnai Marsh and Pulikat are well known. We have other 3, Kottapalli Island, Madavaram and Manali Jheels, and Adayar Estuary Creek. The forests we have are Vandalur, Gindi National Park, and forests in IIT Madras, Madras Christian College, and Theosophical Society. Kuvam River. It is the oldest river flowing from Tiruvallur district. It is a major water source earlier. Nowadays, it is almost contaminated. It has been affected by rapid urbanization and lack of solid waste management. The river is made unusable by dumping industrial and domestic waste. All along the edges of rivers are encroached by slums. Clearing the encroachments along the banks help for the catchment of rainwater. Avoiding the dumping of garbage may protect the rivers. Adayar River. Adayar River in Chennai, it originates from Chambravakkam Lane from Kanchipuram district. It flows 24 kilometers within Chennai. The various industrial effluents were sometimes discharged into the river, which contaminates the water and affects the biological activities. The ecosystem of Adayar River is protected by Tolkappiyar Ecological Park. The banks of Adayar are flooded due to encroaches all along the edges of rivers. And about Kosasthalaya River, it originates from Chittoor district of Andhra Pradesh, flows through Tirunelveli district and enters Chennai and joins the sea at Ennur Creek. Rapid industrialization in and around the edges of the river contaminates the water. And about Buckingham Canal, the canal that protects the Chennai from floods needs an immediate attention. The canal was initially constructed as a brackish water, connecting north of Madras with Ennur. Additions were made till the end of 18th century when the canal extended for, Additions were made till the end of 18th century when the canal extends over 100 km up to Markanam in Viluppuram district. The canal fell into the disuse after 1960s. The canal connects the three rivers, Kosastalaya, Kuvam and Adaya, that cut across the Chennai. Though primarily constructed as a navigation channel, it manages floodwater and ensures the tidal balance. We, instead of protecting the canals, we are using the lands for MRTS proposals. Pile foundations of elevated tracks are laid right on close to the canal. The water flows through the channel is severely affected by these piles. The creek and the canal are severely polluted. And about the wetlands. So Pallikarnai, the last remaining ecosystems of Chennai. It spreads over 5,000 hectares, but now it is reduced to 600 hectares due to rapid urban expansion in and around. The first mistake done on this is we are proposing a roadway connecting an IT corridor. Instead, if we build a vehicular bridge, this disconnect of land will be protected. Everywhere we can see the boards like don't disturb birds, but you can see only the boards. It has been polluted and converted into a wastewater brain, which results in a heavy loss of habitat. The rapid development along the banks of Pallikarnai has resulted in weakening the ecological functions of the marshland. The fishes are dying due to water pollution. The worst scenario now is it becomes a solid waste dumping yard. Pulicat Lake. It is 60 km from north of Chennai. It is the second largest brackish water lake. The lagoon has a rich flora and fauna diversity. The lake receives waters from Swarnamukhi, Kalangi and Arani rivers. The Pulicat Lagoon has a rich biological resources. Due to population pressure, the Pulicat Lake ecosystem is degraded, siltation and shell mining. And about the Kattupalli Island. So Kattupalli Island is also known as Ennur Island. It is between Pulicat Lake and Ennur Creek. The main features of Kattupalli Island are its natural sand dunes, freshwater and rich greeneries. Due to the rapid development of Ennur Seaport, the ecosystem of that area has been facing threat over the last few years, and discharge of effluents from the North Chennai thermal power plants. Considering the ecology of Kattupalli helps reforestation of that region. Madavaram and Manali lakes. It covers an area of about 40 acres. During northeast monsoon, the lake gets filled up to 7 to 8 feet. The Madavaram dairy effluent causes oxygen depletion in the water. Due to silting, the water storage capacity is reduced. 3 graveyards came up last year, symbolically represents the death of the lake ecosystem. And about Adayar Estuary, it lies between Santhom Beach and the Elliot's Beach. The main cause of degradation of Adayar Estuary and Creek is due to untreated wastewater discharge in Adayar River. Eco-restoration of Adayar Estuary brings back natural life that interacts with abiotic elements and create a healthy ecosystem. And about the forests within Chennai, Vandalur Reserve Forest, it is the largest zoological garden. The ecosystem of zoo consists of dry deciduous and dry evergreen scrub forests. And Guindy National Park, it extends an area of 2.7 square kilometer deep inside Governor's Estate, including beautiful forests, scrublands, lakes and streams. The ecosystem consists of rare tropical dry evergreen scrub. And IIT Madras, it is generally referred as a green campus. It covers an area of about 250 hectares. It is a part of Guindy National Park. The campus considered as an ideal example for coexistence of various types of mini ecosystems. And Madras Christian College, it is located in the prime part of Chennai, Egmo. It covers an area of about 275 acres of wooded campus. The SC College has actively supported the diversity of flora and fauna on campus. And about Theosophical Society in Bazanagar. This garden is 260 acres. The garden has migratory birds, fruit bats, snakes, wild cats, mongoose, and variety of spiders. Trees including mahogany, 450 years of old banyan tree, and other trees from across the globe. So far we have seen all the urban ecosystems of Chennai. So from the above study, we knew now what are the environmental damages we have done so far. So instead of protecting the ABC rivers of Chennai, usually called Adayar, Buckingham, and Combe rivers, we have proposed MRTS in a Buckingham Canal, and doing so, we have increased the premium FSI. We have increased the FSI as a premium FSI without considering the infrastructures. And also, instead of protecting the Pallikanai swampland in Velachery, we are proposing roads, and we are proposing a CES and even MRTS station in Pallikanai swampland and Ocean Institute and hospitals and so on. And housing for the poor is allotted all along the Adayar river beds instead of protecting the river. And CRZ, nowhere any real estate builders is following. And agricultural lands near suburbs were converted into CES for the financial benefits. Example, our Siriseri SEZ. So this makes the Chennai urban growth model an unsustainable one. So the ecosystem of our city has gradually degraded over the years to a point where it has now reached the alarming level. The damage to the ecosystem has been largely done. We can still reverse the damage before it is too late. Out of sight is out of mind. Knowing more about urban ecosystem helps to conserve it. So the importance of ecosystem in Thiruvalluvar's Tirukkural, Aran, Kural 742. It says, Mani Neerum, Mandum, Malayum, Ani Nidar Kadum, Udayadaran, which means a fort is that which has everlasting water, plains, mountains, and cool shady forests. Considering greening initiative influences ecological aspects in urban spaces. So for the today's session, my conclusion is we needed to do more research on eco-design. We need to demand our planners and developers take into emotional account that they build. If they do, then we have more healthier, happier, and eco-sensitive cities. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. It was indeed a wonderful and an enlightening session today. Now, I think any participants, if they have any questions, can unmute yourself and you can have an interactive session.
Yeah, sure.
So participants can unmute yourself and talk, or if you can post in your, the chat box, we can read the question out.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Good morning, sir. This is Abhishek Kumar Singh, Assistant Professor from Geetam University, Visakhapatnam.
Yeah.
So I was listening to your presentation, and then I have a question. Like over here, you mentioned about urban planning and urban design. That is, urban planning is policy making, and urban designing executing policies.
Yeah.
Over here, the examples what you have presented was of Vancouver, Helsinki, and Portland cities, which is, if you talk about the things which you explained into this, it is somewhat, few things are not relevant with respect to Indian context. For example, you were mentioning about the bicycle track and all these things.
Yeah.
Since you are in Chennai, you know the climatic condition of Chennai, it's pretty hot. If I am thinking of, if I'm working in Chennai and I'm thinking of going from my home to the working place, by the time I'll reach the working place to cycle, my dress will be entirely full of sweat. So with respect to that, like what to incorporate if we are thinking of more of this kind of activities like cycling or the walking?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Abhishek. Actually, even in our Chennai urban growth model also, we are proposing so many bicycle lanes. So bicycle lane is not only for the for the general use, like for the office people. It is for a common use, like for going to the parks or some smaller uses kind of thing. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure, fine.
So I
Okay.
have another doubt. I'm Vilasini from Dr.MGR.
Vilasini, yes,
From
please.
Dr. Yes, sir.
Yeah, please.
Sir, you've been explaining about these models, and I'm if I'm correct, these places have lesser population density compared to our country, or compared to Chennai, for
Okay.
example. And
Okay.
so the concept of decentralization, I think that is why these satellite towns concepts were proposed, but they didn't click off very well.
Okay.
And I think as people, we our mentality is, we tend to stay close to the core center place so that it is accessible, multiple other issues. Do you
Okay.
think urban designing is actually is designing places it can be done without planning the transportation and developing the infrastructure to support that, to experience the actual, the whatever you are trying to bring it in your designs?
Yeah, thank you, Vilasini. That's what earlier I told, like globalization concepts. We are actually blindly applying the globalization concept. For example, in my example, the first one, Vancouver. Vancouver, they have a high-rise mixed-use development with a uh, uh, focusing on an urban city center. Okay. The
Okay.
next concept is about decentralization. In Chennai, we are applying both the concepts. We are randomly applying it. That's what we had a problem. See,
Mm,
we have a central core of Chennai,
okay.
like Egmore and north of Chennai and Nugambakam and every area. And all of a sudden, we have take up the SEZ of Siriseri and we have developed all along the IT corridors. So now the growth is decentralized, what government has think. But again, we have extended the area to 8,854 kilometers, extended till Kanchipuram and Jayar and somewhere Vidupuram and all we have included. See, this way we are decentralizing is too much. That's what the problem is. Okay.
Okay.
Sir, there's another question from another participant named Deepak, sir.
Yes, please.
He is having a question about, his concern is main that as much as our environmental assets are being misused here, environmental legislation is being ignored or made just a farce. Can you touch upon the status of environmental legislation in Chennai?
Yeah, sure, man, sure. Actually, we have a Forest Protection Act. Actually, environment. We have an Environmental Protection Act (EPA). It is made on 1987, I guess. I'm not sure it is 85 or 87. Actually, what government usually does, right? Whenever they are proposing MRTS line or MRTS station in a forest area or a swamp areas, they made a separate law in a they made a separate law in a secretary and get it approved. In this way, they are violating the laws, violating the existing laws. There is no strong rules enforced for this. That's why all these mistakes are happening.
Okay, sir. There's another question from another participant. How can cycling tracks be introduced again so as school kids at least can use? But where is the space for this?
No, when you look at Anna University and IT Corridor Lane and all, you can see a cycling track marked there. Already in Chennai, we are trying to make the way for cycling people.
Uh,
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Sir, I have one more question. If there is time, can I ask? Ma'am?
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Vilasini.
Please proceed, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Sir, I was reading about an article in which there are major infrastructure projects also were put to stop because there was social and opposition from the society. So, do you really think the society, we have to what kind of education we are giving or educating them in terms of understanding our spaces, so that they'll also be willingly participate? For example, even though there are cycle tracks in demarcated, I've seen people riding their bicycles or parking their bicycle perpendicular to the pedestrian pathway so that you cannot use the space as designed. So any thoughts, sir?
Yeah, ma'am, I can understand. Okay, yeah. Talking about social opposition, why people are opposing? Because they are not aware of what the proposal is going to happen. Okay. See, for example, the planners are not initially discussed with people for the proposals.
Yes,
Without
sir.
discussing, they are straight away proposing it as if they have concluded. That's what in Vancouver's model I have mentioned. No, like they have so many discussions before they have executed the master plan. If we do so, then we also can do in a better way.
No, sir.
Okay.
Do you do? Are there any organization or kind of
No,
social
yeah,
awareness?
actually, before proposing, you are from Chennai or where?
Yes, sir. I'm
Chennai
from
Okay,
only.
Chennai.
fine. So you heard about the Tamil Nadu combined development rules, right? New
Yes,
regulation.
sir.
Actually, Tamil Nadu combined development regulation has been proposed with a draft copy for the public opinion, but none of the public has came forward and see and tell the suggestion. Instead, only the builders and politicians are looking for the book, and for their own benefits, they have changed it. That is a problem. Like, people are not contributing for the urban growth development models. People are not aware of it, and as well the politicians don't want people to participate in it so that their plans will not get stopped, right? So it is all political influences.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, there's
Yeah.
another question from a participant. How far zero carbon will be effective in these urban areas?
Zero carbon will be effective in these urban areas. In sense, it is about Chennai or
I think they're mentioning
simply?
about case studies which you have shown.
Yeah, that's what I've explained. No, like balancing the environment, natural environment, and actually planting more trees will reduce the carbon monoxide pollutions.
Mm,
So in that way, it will help. No.
yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Next.
The next question is, can you please comment on urban structure model using rail networks as well sustainable mobility in Helsinki?
Urban structure
Okay, you
model.
can just read the chat box also, sir. There's a question.
Okay, no problem. Okay, Helsinki model. Okay, talking about Helsinki model, they are going for a decentralization concept. Okay, decentralization is taking the inner core of city to the suburbs. So how we can do this? Only through roadways or the rail network connections. In that way, this transit is plays a major role for the development.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
The next question, 1 minute. Sir.
It is going on and on.
Why don't Chennai have vertical living like skyscrapers? Rather, it has more of horizontal spread.
No, we have 40, 42 floors proposed in IT corridor, and we have Chennai airport within the city limit. That is one major reason. That's what
Okay.
within the city limit we have restrictions.
Okay.
Other than the airway routes, in IT corridors and all, they are allowing for 40, 45 floors.
Ah.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
the next question, is there any legislative and control measures to contain the urban growth in Chennai as it keeps swallowing all the peri-urban rural areas?
Usually, the urban rules are, I mean, this development regulations and all controlled by CMD department. CMD department by the planners only. So we don't have any.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
What is the relevance between smart cities and eco-design for cities? Since any city is growing in
No,
hazardous ways, where does the eco-design be effective?
no, that's what in my presentations I told you, know, like in smart cities, we are focusing on vertical towers and high-tech technologies. But in a livable city, eco-design city, it is a balanced development. For example, I have showed you Finland's concept, right? That Helsinki suburb concepts, whereas they are giving more importance for the green spaces. 50% of the built-up area is 50% is left over for the green spaces.
Okay.
So in our case, we are leaving only 25 to 30% as open spaces. So more open spaces will lead to better livable environments.
Okay.
And psychologically, it will be pleasing and gives you a better. Yeah,
Okay.
please.
Next question, shall we improve
Okay.
the river bank? Yes.
Yes, please.
Can
Selva,
I
yes, Selva, proceed.
rephrase?
Yeah.
Uh, Sir, that question is mine. I just wanted to know, like, the relevance between smart cities and then eco cities for eco design for cities. That I just wanted to know, like, since any city, any metropolitan city in India has its growth in a haphazardous way, that there is no planning. When there is no planning, it grows only only when there is a requirement arises. So when we try to implement these eco design,
Yes.
designs be effective, or what are the places that it goes as a failure? That's what I wanted to know, because
Okay. Yeah, that's what I told.
that's why I mentioned
No,
the smart cities and eco design. Yeah.
yeah, that's what I told. Like for the past 20 years, we have been talking about smart cities, future cities, right? So what is smart cities? People think that vertical high-rise towers with a glass facades, which will create a urban heat islands. We never bother about any material, whether it is sustainable or whatever it is. We are just copying. We are creating a Dubai in a Ahmedabad and saying that it is a smart city. Why Ahmedabad need a smart city which is in Dubai? India has its own climate and we have our own culture and emotions, right? Why do we need to copy? Why do we need to design a building for people who are in Dubai? So, eco design is a city where you have to consider our own spaces and our own emotions. Okay?
Okay. So I have a question. Can I ask Mona?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Please.
Vinolia here.
Yeah, ma'am.
Yeah. So good morning. This is Vinolia. Sir, I have because since you were mentioning about the TDF, the tropical dry evergreen forest,
Yeah.
because we are a place, the Chennai is a place where we have this unique type of landscape, the TDF forest.
Okay.
So what I think is a macro level understanding or a macro level connectivity of all these green and blue spaces is required in the first place. Because I feel like a macro level understanding or a macro level approach, a regional approach to the city of Chennai is very important. And then we work out on a macro to a micro level scale. This is my opinion. What is your opinion on that?
Yeah, I do agree with that now.
Okay,
Yeah, what you
because
said
that
is
is
right
what,
on.
because unless and until we get a
Yeah, that's what I said. No, in Chennai, we have to first think of preserving our ecosystems, mainly the river, wetlands, and
exactly,
forests. So we have to first preserve that.
yes,
Instead of that, when you look at the past 10 years, we are almost encroaching all the spaces. Even we are taking spaces from IIT Madras and taking spaces from Palikarnai Swamp, and even Buckingham Canal is almost gone. Almost we have taken almost all the spaces we have taken, and even Coombe River also. The way of river is almost gone. So it is better to preserve ecosystems to make eco-design cities.
so is there any possibility of like bringing back the connectivity, because all the green spaces and blue were once connected?
Possibilities, that's what I told like Numan. We have to do more research on this. Everybody have to concentrate. It's not a one-man decision or a group decision. Everyone has to think in the
Exactly,
same
it's
way.
not about the architects alone.
Yeah, man. That's what
Yeah,
everybody should do more research on eco. So
yeah,
we have
okay,
to
okay.
apply the eco designs even from the micro level to the macro level scales. Like even it starts from the residents' rooftops and to the building setbacks and to the communities.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
This
Yes,
is
ma'am.
Radhika from Dr.MGR University. I have a question for you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Where do you conceive the place of slums in eco cities? Because slums is a dominating problem today, even with
Yes,
the
ma'am.
pandemic being spread.
Yes, ma'am.
Slums are really posing a great challenge.
Yes, ma'am.
So, in eco cities, where do you conceive, or is there any ongoing study on the position of slums
Yes,
and
ma'am.
their rehabilitation or whatever it is?
Ma'am, if you see our Chennai development regulation itself, in every group development, we need to leave 25% of space for the service people, like EWS people. Okay. So instead, what we do is, earlier, Tamil Nadu government is doing a slum rehabilitation project. Like they are taking up the slums from the Adaya River and putting them there again back. So instead of that, we should take a space from the residential community and leave spaces for them in a vertical tower, and remaining 25% spaces will be given to the slum people. Only taking up the lands, or either TDR can also be applied, transferable development of rights. Maybe we'll take land from a group of communities and we will work out 25% area for these slums.
Yeah, so I think
So
real
that these
estate
slums will
developers.
act as a service sector for the community.
Yeah, sure. So that
Yes,
is a
ma'am.
good one, because the slums being rehabilitated somewhere far away from the city,
Yeah.
totally, I mean, it's totally a chaos because they cannot commute. They really depend on the city for their livelihood.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I think this is a better solution. The real estate developers and people like that should be sensitized to allot parcels of land within their development to the economically weaker section. That should be enforced with a much greater hand, I think.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
So there's one more question. One of the participants want to know their thoughts about transit-oriented development and its impact for Chennai.
Transit-oriented development. Okay. So when you look at the MRTS corridor, why it fails? It fails because it has no connectivity. If you see MRTS, our MRTS station, it ends at Velachery, not connecting the St. Thomas Mount station. The proposal is still on the way. The transit-oriented system will get success only when it is connected properly. That's what in our latest proposal we have almost connected through Chennai from Porur to Egmore and Egmore to Ennu, and again Ennu to Coimbatore, vice versa. Yeah, the connectivity. If you make good connectivity, then you will get succeeded in transitization.
There's one more question. You talked about the aspects of urbanization, globalization, and industrialization. Compared to all the examples discussed today, Indian cities have a larger degree of mass migration. So should the urbanization be kept in check by strengthening infrastructure and facilities in the villages and rural areas? So by designing to address urbanization in cities, are we trying to cure the symptoms and not the disease? The migration and the urbanization.
No, I get you. So what she is trying to say is wrong.
Sir,
What is her question? No, what is her question? Mona ma'am?
Sir, can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, please.
So should the urbanization be kept in checking by strengthening the infrastructure and facilities in the villages and rural areas?
Wait.
Hello,
So,
if I had to interpret, I think
sure,
the
ma'am.
question is whether the rural areas, to develop the infrastructure, you give them employment opportunities within the rural areas, then we might check on the people migrating from rural to urban areas. The question is that, no, Mona?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, the question is like why we are concentrating on urban centers instead of rural areas, so that if rural areas are concentrated, people will not migrate to urban. This is the question, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
People love to live in urban areas because we have all infrastructures are readily available in urban areas, like employment opportunities, good educations, and entertainments and everything. If we take rural areas, you don't have such kind of varieties. Developing such varieties in all rural villages are not possible. That's what we are concentrating in one particular area like urban centers. Okay. So if you see Madurai villages, Madurai is a concentrated place where all around villages will be into Madurai. So that kind of thing, like Tiruchi is also supporting the surrounding villages. So any one core center will be developed with all the infrastructure.
Okay.
The investments will be more otherwise.
Okay, can I add on?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Please.
This is Molia. Yes, sir. Actually, there was a vision which was put forth by Abdul Kalam, the 2020 vision of the Pura, which is provision of urban amenities to the rural population. So this was actually a vision which was put forward by him. So what he says was exactly the question which was asked: providing urban amenities to the rural poor to check on the migration levels. But I think that scheme is totally put down now because nobody has ever thought about it, because it was something which was actually proposed by him long back, like in 2005. So we are 15 years from that, and even now we have not done that. Only if the urban amenities are provided to the rural poor, actually in such a situation, in this pandemic, I think that is one of the best solutions which we can ever think of as planners and architects, because it is a mandate. Now people will really get scared to travel to any of the outside areas. So I think that act, which is the Pura, the provision of urban amenities to the rural population, has to be brought back, is what I feel.
Vinole, just to ask you one more. See, what
Yes,
will
ma'am.
happen to the character of the rural areas if you're going to urbanize them?
Ma'am,
then
exactly. Yes, ma'am. If you happen to go through the Pura, the amenities which are provided, it is exclusively supporting the rural economy and the rural livelihood. So we are not like, we are getting the people connected to the outside world, not disturbing the local economy and the local lifestyle at all.
agriculture and other things should not.
Yes, ma'am. Agriculture, all the activities, all the amenities which is supporting agriculture. Because now, after pandemic, if you see, people now, the government is ready to go and buy things directly from the villages, all the produce from the villages. So only after pandemic we are thinking of something of this kind. So this could have been done earlier. Instead of making people come, travel, and spend money on the travel to the urban centers, what if everything was provided in the rural centers? That is what was exactly proposed. So I think that could be done.
Okay.
Okay. Any other participants? Any questions?
No, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. So thank you so much, sir, for spending your time. It was indeed a wonderful presentation, sharing all your case studies with us. On behalf of Faculty of Architecture, Dr.MGR University, I would like to thank all the participants for your cooperation, spending your valuable time and being so patient during the session. Looking forward to reconnect back with you all soon for the next upcoming sessions. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Mohan.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Sindhu, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Nice one, Sandal.
And Silva, sir?
Yes, please.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, please, sir.
Eh?
Yeah, please share your comments, sir.
Oh, it was nice one. And some of the people asked some very intelligent questions as well. The Pura model. Yeah. And, we at Mark, the chairman also attempted that model, Pura. We gave proposal after proposal after proposal. We were very much on to it. But then, the administrative norms, particularly at the government level, the policy makers have to come forward to make it happen. It was very nice of that, lady professor. I don't know if she was a teacher or a student. A nice one, 2005, 15 years and still not executed. But it calls for support from the administrative reformative level, I'm talking about simply the government level. They have to take up the initiative because it's not that easy to provide an urban infrastructure in a rural area. It calls for a lot of policy decision, absolute investment, pure 100% investment, because nothing is there except for the barren land,
Yes.
So, but the concept was good. We made extensive proposals and, measures to the government, but there it gets stored. It's a dead end. It's a one way. You give proposal after proposal, but it is not processed at the government level, the policy makers, the town planners, the bureaucratic setup, So a nice question and to ask for the provision, particularly in a pandemic situation like what we're facing today. But then it is not, as you said, rightly said, it is not about an individual to, make it happen. It has to be a collective, including the public, and more importantly from the, government stakeholders who have to come and make this dream realize. It is not that we have not taken initiative on the Pura. We did take initiative. Not only Mark, not only Mr. GRK, there are so many other people who did take up initiative on Pura, but then it becomes a one-way traffic. It becomes a dead end. It gets piled up there at the policymaker level, the decision makers level. They are not taking proactive measures, and there is a frequent change in the government. A person who sits in the government for 5 years is not there in the next 5 years. So the person who initiates this, Dr. Kalam's dream, is not there to follow up when the regime changes. You can even think about who is currently ruling and who was ruling before and who was it earlier. There has been successive changes, and it is almost impossible for the fellow politicians to get into what was nicely initiated by the previous regime. It is very important. One should not look at it from a political standpoint. All of you are looking at it from a development standpoint. But in how many cases have you witnessed that, the previous faction follows up in the next regime when they come to power? They put it under cold storage. They only wanted to initiate what they initiate. They don't initiate who has, what was initiated in the previous regime. That is a major setback why these Pura models have not, come to realization. So if things can happen, if there is a legislation that whoever comes to power, an act is an act. Whoever comes to follow it up in the regime, should take up an initiative and run through the particular process of the system which was initiated in the previous regime and see to that the development activities are not stalled. And that way, you can find some seamless follow through, and you can make such dreams come true. But your examples, your replies were very good, huh, Mr. Sendal, Professor Sendal.
Thank you, sir.
Very, very nice. You are very, very adept. Mostly when somebody asks for, that was also a nice question, rural, where does the slum dweller go? And you are very spot on, very brilliantly thought about, putting them in the part of the Real Estate Development Act, 10% of EWS community to get replaced. The nice one. But then we earmark for EWS community and slum community. But then sometimes what happens in the real-time development, they put a 45 square meter the size of an EWS unit. Our people will combine 2 units and sell it as 900 square foot. Such things have to be curbed, okay?
Yes,
Because you're selling it, your objective is to make it reachable for the person who deserves or who can only buy 45 square meter of a built-up area. But then when you combine into, you're defeating the very purpose of the act. So such oversights, such violations have to be stopped. But otherwise, your answer was very brilliant, very, very brilliant. Yeah, and even the other person asked, what happens to the cyclist in a condition like India, Chennai, Tamil Nadu, where we live in a hot dry, warm dry? Then you also spoke about not necessarily to the places of employment. You also spoke about very nicely thought that somebody can use a bicycle, not necessarily to go to an office or maybe to go to a market. That was also a brilliant answer. Very thoughtful of you. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I think
Thank you, sir.
hopefully, the participants were, what do you say? The purpose is solved for all the participants. Nice, what lecture?
I have a small suggestion, especially these apartments, the real estate people, when they sell even the 45 square meter or whatever it is, the least, they sell it to the same selling price. I think that also has to be brought down.
Very, 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 very important. Very brilliant.
Yeah.
Very brilliant.
It has to be brought down. Because we wanted to do a research on this actually.
Absolutely. It is not the sizing alone. It is not the ticket size. It is also the price point.
That has to be reduced. Only then we can bring in the service people into the community.
Yeah, I think if you recall one of the discussion with your Professor Sendilmani, he said the people are not aware, That was also very brilliant from the Professor, Mr. Sendilmani, saying that the public are not aware. It is only dealt at the bureaucratic level. Bureaucracy, what we call it as the government arm and the politicians. Maybe, not all are bad. Some of them are good, or maybe, but it doesn't percolate and reach up to the common man. How do you make that common man understand these rules? Nobody will know that, there's a 10% of reservation for an EWS sector. How many people you think that, were aware?
Yes.
For all practical purposes, all the apartment buyers do not even know that this comes under an EWS regulation. They think that it is a simple 1 BHK suite and it is sold at the same price. But you have a point, not necessarily look at the ticket size, look at it from a price point, very brilliant one. But, it has to go as a collective, recommendation by the mass to the government arm, the people who run the show. I'm talking about the government agencies to reform this, price point, not necessarily look at the tickets. Very brilliant one, very brilliant one. But the answer goes along with what your Professor Mr. Sendilmani said. The public are not aware of it. The moment you educate them, then it goes as a combined referendum. Yeah, and then it reaches everybody. Then the government can come forward to act on it and reduce the ticket size, not including the price point. Very nice one. Very nice one.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, actually, I wanted to discuss a problem. Actually, I'm totally from a different place. I'm not from South India. I'm from North India, and we have a problem here in North India, Uttar Pradesh. We already got this built cycle tracks in all the place, but there is a problem in getting them maintained. There are like lot of hawkers and street dwellers who are being stayed upon this land like since long time when it was after it was made. So ma'am or sir, which are the main authorities we can even talk to make it even better and give them a better place to hawkers and street dwellers?
No, as you said, not only cycle tracks, even even if the parks are developed, no, in those spaces
Yeah.
also these people have occupied. Okay, so that cannot be stopped in India unless all were.
Yeah, so that is so much practical, but like yeah, we need to
No,
look forward
seriously, you
for a
can
plan.
even see in monuments and heritage structures also, you can see those kind of peoples, right? So we cannot stop those peoples.
Yeah, I do understand. And sir, one more thing I wanted to ask that if that real estate rule you talked about is about 10% giving to this.
So that varies from state to state. Okay,
Okay, but
Even in your state, it may vary. Okay.
yeah, sir. But actually, there is a like a huge scam which goes on that the whole 10% or the percentage is always given to the people who are been working over there, like as for a service, like for carpenters and service things. It's often given to them. So, is there any thing we can even do from our aspect to give dwellers a better place?
No, for this we cannot take any decision. As a planner, we can design only. Maybe from government side or from government side only, they have to take some measures to make
Okay, sir.
sure that it will reach the poor.
Yeah, okay, sir.
Okay, Mohan
Okay,
Priyama.
sir. Okay,
Yeah.
sir. Thank you, sir. We'll end up the session here.
Okay, sure,
Thanks a
ma'am.
lot.
Thank you,
Thanks a
ma'am.
lot for an interactive session, sir. We'll keep
Thank
in
you,
touch
ma'am.
with you.
Thank you, bye, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.